This is Michaela McLean, and you're listening to Beauty by Design. Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for being here. It's time to talk about our next gate, gate one. But before we do, of course, let me catch you up on some things. I am getting stuff ready on the back end. I know I mentioned it last episode, I believe, that I was like, I'm contemplating opening up sessions. And so lots of back end things happening to make that a reality. Just setting it up because this is a whole different, new, fresh, beautiful offering. Oh my goodness. It falls right in line with our gate one that we're about to talk about. But yeah, so I'm like, shoot, I want to be able to say, hey, it's open. But I'm hoping maybe even by this time this goes live that it will be ready. There have been a lot of emergency room visits this last week. A lot of things going on family wise, health wise. Everything's cool, but yeah, just basically all the time I thought I was going to devote to getting things ready, it didn't happen. So there you go. So we're working on that. But of course, in the meantime, make sure that you are signed up, that you have my free guide. That'll get you on my email list. And I have been sending an email or two now. And of course, I'm going to send out to people who are either on my wait list or even on the email list. They're going to get notified right away when this goes live. But yeah, that gets you the free guide. The free guide will guide you to your correct 1 hour, $11 or type masterclass, type strategy authority, not self-signature, deconditioning tips, all of the authorities possible for each one of the types. So it really covers absolutely everything that you need to know. And that's an important piece too. When I put those classes out, that was like the prerequisite. I want to make sure people watch those before we work together in a one-on-one capacity. That still stands. So make sure that you've done that so that we can work together. And of course, then there's the yoga nidras, but I am really excited. I can't wait to, like I said, get to talk about these new sessions. I think it's going to be fun. I think there'll be, limited dates, limited quantities, but it really is this beautiful hybrid of design and energy work. And if you remember my energetic RX, like I write air quotes prescriptions for people. So just this really cool, amazing melange of, I don't know, it's everything that I do, and everything that I have done. So it's finally kind of fusing it all together. My North Node's in 33, and it really is about collecting everything and then like waiting for it all to make sense. And I think we're finally hitting that point. So anywho, let's get on to the episode. Oh, there is something really cool coming from Little Fox as well. Again, I think I mentioned this last time. Fear of the past repeating itself, 44. But again, delays, unexpected things happening behind the scenes, nothing bad, but stuff that's just being held up. So watch this space. I'm super excited. There, again, gate one, creative thing that I am doing as part of this launch. And so I will be excited to share it with everyone. So again, or follow me on Instagram at Michaela McLean, and you're going to see what it is right away. So hopefully here very soon. I think everything is going to probably coincide with gate one, which I think is really cool. And you'll understand why as we get into this episode. So before we do, of course, your reminder, let the sound current wash over you. Just relax. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to try to understand it. Just let the energy and the frequency of beauty sink into your cells like good skincare. Okay. So gate one, we're moving, we're still in Scorpio. We're moving through Scorpio into one, which is located in the G center. Side note, we're finally out of the spleen detox. Okay. Yay. We are rebirthing. Again, that's part of this gate. So we're out of the spleen finally, and we're now into individual knowing circuitry, right? So we've processed all those fears and anxieties, and we're moving onward. So just individual circuitry to start with. It's like These are people who have a deep inner knowing that they are here to be true to themselves, which leads to mutation, evolution, and positive change in the world. And the keynote with any of the individual circuitry is empowerment. So, starting with the center, the G center revolves around themes of love, identity, and direction. It's our highest self, our personal GPS, like our inner compass that is telling us where we need to be existing in time and space, right? It's guiding us. And it's also home to the magnetic monopole, a one way magnet that draws all that is loving and beautiful our way, right? But it is always essential that being love ourself first is key. Okay, so gate one is known as the creative. It's the gate of self expression, and it is our place in the now. It is the capacity for creativity, and it is creation as a primal force, the energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation. Okay, so the low expression of gate one is not exercising your creativity or embodying the role of creator. Feeling a disconnect or a block to your creative inspiration, just stale, bland, blah. With individual circuitry, again, it's like the muse is here and then she's gone and you're not in control over it. It's just, oh my goodness, the downloads are hitting me, the things like happening, and then all of a sudden it's away again, right? And what's important to understand about that with individual circuitry is like, and specifically with gate one is like, oh, I'm supposed to be creative. And it's like, so there can be self judgment over that creative ebb and flow, right? Like I said, muse is here and she's gone. There's this expectation that you always need to be yang, right? You're always producing, it's always output, producing, creating, I've got my next thing to tell you about. And also understanding that there are yin periods, right? And what I've found in people is really the observation of like, especially gate one people where sometimes it's like then there's no creativity whatsoever. Not even just being creative, I mean, in any way, shape, or form. And so again, another little thing to know about this, like that um, individual circuitry, excuse me, in general is prone to melancholy and or depression. And what for an artist, like that's some of the most creative periods if they would harness that. So if you're a gate one person, just understanding that about yourself, it's like, oh yeah, the ebb and the flow happens. And I don't have to vilify when things are not happening. I need to trust that is a positive thing. So that low expression of gate one can basically be fearful of the quiet periods, if you're conditioned to constantly and consistently be outputting, and basing your own value on that. But also that you could be allowing yourself to be influenced by others. This is really about your creativity, not just copy and pasting someone else's work as your own, because that's not going to have any sort of mutative impact. That's not going to empower anyone. And the high expression, gate one is truly an artist. It's really about having the courage and the freedom to be a bold individual. It's the initiation and birth or rebirth of something new and being unafraid to stand out. Simply being your authentic, creative self is deeply inspiring to others. The new, fresh ideas you bring are meant to be a gift shared with the world. When you live by example, you are giving other people the permission to be their unique self. So this energy isn't necessarily aware of the ripple effect that they are causing. They just need to stay focused on doing them. Individual circuitry can be a deeply positively mutative force when doing what you feel is right in your bones. Your creativity shapes others' lives, or it has the potential to, inspire and yeah, change the course of things for another person. And those of us heavy on individual circuitry, I myself am a pure individual. My one channel is purely individual. And, like those of us that fall in that camp, we're really meant to do our own thing, march to the beat of our own drummer, stay true to ourselves, and wait for everyone else to essentially adopt and mutate according to us, not the other way around. So in the gene keys, the shadow of this one is entropy. And its reactive and repressive sides are It's depressive or it's frenetic. Its gift is freshness and its city is beauty. A simple definition of entropy is a measure of the disorder or unavailability of energy within a closed system. More entropy means less energy available for doing work. And he says, I should read if I didn't mention that. Modern physics and the law of thermodynamics are based upon the basic perceived law of entropy. According to what we can see through the mind, the universe appears to have a single direction. It moves from order toward chaos. This first shadow keeps the entire planet living at a low level frequency. It is like a blanket thrown across our civilization. According to our mind, we cannot do anything about entropy. That is our chief problem. Human beings do not generally accept themselves, and when you convert entropy into a human feeling, it becomes a kind of deep numbness or sense of gloom. Entropy is, in effect, the opposite of love. If we learn anything about these first two primary gene keys, it is about the nature of duality itself, which is that life cannot exist without polarity. The entire notion of the spectrum of consciousness at the heart of the gene keys revelation depends upon this polarity of the shadow at one end of the spectrum and the city at the other. Each gives birth to the other. Entropy is the black hole to creativity's white hole, and this first gene key is about creativity. The secret to harnessing creativity actually lies in the first shadow. In fact, the secret to every gene key in this book lies in harnessing and accepting the energy latent within each of the 64 shadows. In grasping this fact right here, in these two primary gene keys, you truly prepare yourself for the voyage to come. He's referencing gene keys 1 and 2. Entropy manifests in human beings as numbness, and this numbness is actually an extremely fertile state of awareness. First of all, you have to understand that it is a chemical state, and secondly, it comes on suddenly and, accepted and fully embraced, it passes just as suddenly. Entropy and creativity are an internal dance played out within the universe we inhabit. Many mythologies have captured this dance. The dancing figure of Lord Shiva from the Hindu pantheon is just one of these figures whose dance both destroys and creates all that exists. The first shadow appears in your life whenever you feel flat or sad or low. This is a chemical process that the body enters into, and if you try to comprehend it, find a reason for it, or worst of all, try to fix it, then the process will not complete itself cleanly. If you resist the state mentally, one of the great dangers is that you will interfere with its process and fix it inside yourself as depression, because this first shadow triggers the chemical process that can lead to depression. Most depressive states are the result of resisting certain shadow frequencies within our genetic makeup. Depending on your individual genetic predispositions, you may be more or less prone to feeling low than others. Generally speaking, the more creative a person you are, the more deeply you are affected by this kind of melancholic chemistry. The state of entropy is rather like a vacuum state. Your system is recharging, so the energy within you withdraws into a kind of stasis. The resulting feelings or lack of feeling and or enthusiasm provide a delicate environment for something quite special to occur, if you are patient enough to allow it. This something is the creative process. In other words, your low energy means that something intangible is gestating inside you, even though you cannot yet see it. Only when the state mutates to its expressive stage will you see what the process is about. These low times in your life are therefore very special times, and they generally require aloneness and withdrawal in order for the seed sprouting inside you to germinate. The worst enemy at such times is interference from your own mind, or indeed someone else's mind, wondering what is wrong with you. Because of this first shadow, humanity as a species is not nearly as creative as it could be. And then a gift, the title for it is The Beauty of Melancholy. In the most ancient creation myths, one of the first manifestations of life is seen as light. Here in this first gift, we have the bringing together of these two essential principles of light and sound. The third great symbol of creativity unites these two principles through the symbol of fire. Fire is perhaps the greatest creative archetype since it not only consumes but also transforms. While the second gene key indicates your true direction in life, its programming partner, the first gene key, provides the actual energetic thrust to get you there. Every time an individual moves cleanly through their low frequency chemical process, they reenact this creation myth. Out of the darkness, Suddenly, light emerges, and as if by magic, the low energy field switches and experienced as joy. This joy comes as unexpectedly as the sadness does, but with the joy also comes the need to express it, and especially to express it through your voice or your art. This first gift is the gift of freshness because whatever emerges out of its numbing chemistry field is absolutely new. Every word for every gene key is highly specific, and the word freshness is different, for example, from the word newness. Freshness conveys aliveness, as though it refers to something burning with an inner fire. This is exactly how people empowered by the first gift express themselves, as though surrounded by a halo of something brought with them from another world. Freshness is a gift that needs the right environment in order to bloom. It needs open minded people who give you center stage exactly when you need it. After the fresh energy has been released and your creative impact has been felt, you will usually need to retreat as quickly as possible in order not to spoil the power of your release. Your secret lies in the knowledge that fresh flowers soon wilt. For just as your light can infiltrate any group bringing inspiration and joy, so can your melancholy equally draw energy away from the very same group. The gift of freshness relies on one immortal truth: creativity can never be controlled. It simply comes when it comes, and when it is absent, there is nothing you can do but wait and relax. When your creative fire is burning, everyone wants to gather around you and partake of your warmth and inspiration, but when your fire dies to a mere flicker, it's as though you become unnoticeable. If you then try to rekindle your creativity through force of will, you will only end up making huge compromises, both with yourself and with others. For you, life is either fully engaged or completely at rest. Your true power lies in your ability to be alone with yourself and to trust in the power of your own uniqueness and timing. And of the city, it says, beauty is the reason for life, and life is the reason for beauty. In beauty, nothing lies outside the unity of everything. Everything is experienced as a unique creative expression of this unity. Everything shines and drips with the same essence of its uniqueness, and yet at the same time, it all shares a single source. Okay, so my notes on this one, it is a projected energy. Projector rules apply, seen, recognized, and invited. In the meantime, you do you, and don't worry if they see you or not. The right people at the right time will, and it will, whatever you're doing, whatever your art is, your art form, it will catch on. It's infectious if the right energy is behind it, right? And to be even more specific, this is part of a self-projected channel, which is all about a built-in soul-centered direction. It knows completely where it's meant to be going in time and space. But when invited to share its uniqueness, that's when it truly shines. Physiologically, this correlates with the liver. Again, we're in the G center, which is a place that, in some cultures, the liver is the place that the spirit reincarnates from. And human design, this is home to the magnetic monopole, that one-way magnet that is holding our personality and design crystals together. That's the black and the red sides of our chart. Um, Again, that's a much deeper concept, but something something to get into. This is considered a leadership gate and or part of a leadership channel like the channel of the alpha, the channel of the prodigal. However, this is just about doing it your own way. No agenda, to inspire others. It just happens. It's the creative director. These people can impact others' creativity and direction. I have to laugh because like with Little Fox, the creative director, who is a Pisces manifester, Sun in Gate 22, is all about beauty. She has this full channel, Natalia, and it's something that it's like, oh gosh, like the creativity from the brand inspires me. It rubs off on me, and her work is so beautiful, and the imagery, and just you know what I mean. It's like such a vibe. It's such my vibe. That yeah, it does something. It's very empowering. Again, I'm somebody who, spoiler alert, I will get to this at the end, but I don't have any part of this channel. But I am an individual. It's like, oh yeah, it activates something for me, right? Wherever we're white in our chart, that's where we're meant to, experience the other and become wise. So, just a note. And on that note, Scorpio itself is about the death and the rebirth cycle. This is infinite energy. It's forever on a loop and always, if something dies off, something new, something fresh, something beautiful is being birthed into reality. Gate 1 is also the beginning of the 4th quarter of the wheel. So it starts off that Q4 in human design. So gates 1 and 2 are direction gates, are placed in the now and, within the G center. And the other direction gates are gate 7, that's about the future, 13, it's about the past. The rest of them are the love gates, the transcendent love gates. And also on that note, this is the halfway point between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice, where each one of these points, so like I said, 1 and 2, 7 and 13, they're all in the fixed signs. Okay, so they're where we get the 4 versions of the right angle cross of the Sphinx, those incarnation crosses. You don't know what I'm talking about? Don't worry. If you do, there's a nugget for you. But as far as like this creativity thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I said this in the gate 8 episode, but it's like, Oscar Wilde and his whole quote of imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. And I'm like, I just love that quote, like the full quote, because it's such a burn. But it really is that whole, you have to be an individual, you have to be yourself, not be copying people, like let inspiration do its thing and birth something fresh through you. Okay, so programming partner. So if the sun is in Scorpio in gate 1, the earth is automatically opposite in Taurus gate 2. And gate 2 is the receptive. It's the gate of the direction of the self, and it's considered the most yin or feminine of all the gates, right? We've already mentioned that. It's about this kind of built-in life direction and the receiving of resources. So 1 is just putting it out, 2 is receiving and doing something with it. And the keynote with this one is direction or vision. It's the director or the driver. And the magnetic monopole is rooted in gate 2. This is the gate of the higher self. It propels you toward your destination. Again, there's that inner compass thing. So with this one, just kind of that feeling like, oh, I need to be doing something, rather than understanding that so much of gate 2 is about resting, receiving, like just really relaxing into that very, feminine yin aspect. And it's about making yourself a fit receptacle. Like you don't have to go chasing after your life's purpose or, the doing or creating. It's like allow things to come to you, trust in divine timing. The universe is really here to support you. It's such an interesting one, out of all the gates, that it's so much about just like, can you relax and receive? I always say it's like, it reminds me of like the Empress and the tarot, or, the Queen of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles, all these, just kicking back and like chilling, enjoying like how good life could be if you let it, like relax. There's nothing that you have to do all the time. You don't have to be on all the time. And gate 2 has this really cool ability to help other people with their direction. Again, it is a direction gate, either through the management or distribution of resources, or simply by following your own direction. Your aura would empower others to calibrate to theirs. Again, it's an individual circuitry. So yeah, and this one is definitely about the management of wealth, resources, this ability to get things done, just tangibility, like real. It's now all of a sudden real in the real world. And then the gate that completes the channel is Taurus gate 8, forming the channel of inspiration. And it is known as holding together. It's the gate of contribution, the basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals. This is the gate that gives voice to the inner knowing of the higher self. And the keynote here is, I can make a contribution or not. It's unique self-expression. So the low expression with 8, it's a projected gate or part of a projected channel. It's like the energy needs to be invited. You don't want to come off as pushy and, talking about stuff that people aren't interested in, versus letting people come to you. They know that you get it. you're ahead of the curve, you know what I mean? Different, artistic, whatever, and you've got something to say. People are interested in that, but also it can show up as being afraid to stand out, to be different, again, individual circuitry. So it's not about going along with the status quo, being mediocre, suppressing yourself to fit in, just very bland, putting on a facade or a show versus being authentically yourself. And the high expression is that this is meant to be the mouthpiece, the agent, the promoter, the marketer. A gate A person can recognize and promote others. It can very good at drawing attention to others with their own excitement. Honestly, like this is an influencer, it's not doing it on purpose. This person just knows what is cool to them and others are going to be inspired by it. But again, you're not trying to sway people, you're just being yourself. And that's when gate A is really in its flow. That's the energy that they're putting off. And it's amazing. In the Gene Keys, it's the gift of style. And, you got to think about that. It's like, oh, I like their style, right? Style, true style has no attachment to a label, but it surrenders to constant evolution and it communicates that to the wider world. And 8 is really meant to be seen for the influence that it uniquely has. It definitely dares to be different and special and sharing that, vocalizing it. Okay. Um, like I said, it's bringing creativity into physical reality coming up and out the throat where things are alchemizing in the real world. It's turning into something real. So we've got the soul centered direction, the creativity, of gate 1 in the G center coming up to be expressed through the throat center. This is one of the creative channels in the chart. And when the two come together to form the channel of inspiration, it is the creative role model. It's about creative self expression and self promotion. Gate 1 is the artist, gate 8 is the art dealer. The 1 creates, and then the 8 contributes by drawing everyone's attention to what they deem exciting and fresh. They are naturally guiding others toward beauty. Again, this channel is deeply individual, it's individual energy and it's got that amazing potential of mutation and influence, simply leading by example because they have to. They have to do their thing. They have to creatively express and be an artist, right? And then they're here to be recognized for being different and unique from everyone else. It really is speaking from the heart, expressing from the heart. That is what's going on at the G center, like the soul level. If you have gate 1 alone, you may not be as much of a self promoter. You're going to need other people in your life to shout you out and bring attention to your creative work. Whereas 8 is the side that has the ability to promote, so they're finding a collaboration there between that. At the end of the day, the channel of inspiration is about living unapologetically as yourself, going in the direction you're meant to go, and being so in your own thing that you're oblivious really to your own impact. And frankly, you're too cool to care. It's the art of self-expression. It's not about other people. You're not creating to get another's attention. Like when I see people that are so, well, I have to do my reels this way and use a trending audio and this, that, the other. And, it's like they're trying to get attention versus they're creating art to satisfy their own artistic urges. And if that happens to get attention, so be it. But they're not mentally, right? Because it's a mental thing. They're not mentally overly concerned with that. I have a lot of respect for that, especially when you see like true artists. Like, I mean, I've definitely stumbled across like even just posts and things where that comes up, like true artists are not creating for an algorithm. Okay. End of story. Remember, individual circuitry is just being itself, right? It empowers others to be themselves, which is always so cool. The channel of inspiration, people, they need to be invited to vocalize, to express. They're waiting to be recognized and invited to make their creative contribution to the world. Astrologically, this channel would be a Taurus Scorpio opposition. Again, super cool because it's 2 fixed signs that are so themselves, right? They're not changing and swaying for anyone, right? They're not playing to an algorithm, They're like, I'm me and that's it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Taurus, again, it's like so grounded and steady and stable. And Scorpio is doing that that death and rebirth, reinventing, alchemizing, rising from the ashes again. It's like really beautiful. And like I already mentioned, we're in the fourth quarter of the wheel. So it's the first gate of the fourth quarter and the final quarter. This is about purpose fulfilled through transformation. Okay. Living authentically and being able to move on to the next level of consciousness. I'm particularly fond of this quarter because if you were to look at what the fourth quarter looks like when all the gates are active, there is only one channel active in this quarter, completely filled out. And guess what? It's my one channel. So I'm a fourth quarter girl. I love it. I love it. Anyway, like I said, I don't have gate one or gate eight. I don't have any part of the channel of inspiration, but I definitely live with some of it in my family, and I have friends that have it. And it's so cool whenever I see this in people, I'm just like, what are you excited about? You need to be expressing it, period. That is a superpower to have this whole channel. You don't even know how lucky you are, you know, taken from somebody who has an undefined throat, you know, it's like, gosh, I always laugh. I'm like, I can and do talk all the time about all of this stuff. And it's just like, where's the movement? Whereas when somebody who expresses themselves, especially like in the Gene Keys, when he talks about the joy of the creativity, it's just very magnetic to people, right? So yeah, there you go. Of course, I always share more over on Instagram as far as tips to make this practical and use this each week. So make sure you're following me over on Instagram at Michaela McLean because, she's always pumping that out. But then check out your chart. Do you have this in your chart? If it's black, red, or red and black, you have it defined somewhere. We're looking at the diamond at the center of the chest. It's going to be at the very top of that diamond, pointing up toward the throat. So you're going to see one. Again, if it's colored in, either one or both colors, you have it somewhere in your chart. You are a gate one person. But maybe you don't have it. Look to the other side, look at the throat. Is 8 defined? If so, you'd be getting the full channel activated for a week. That's going to be very powerful. And maybe you're like me and you don't have it at all. You're just, again, you're going to experience it through the transits. You're going to experience it through people. It's so cool to just observe it in others and then how it impacts you as the transits are happening. Okay. Hit me up. Let me know, like I said, go follow me on Instagram if you're not already and all of that. I'd love to hear people's interpretation of this stuff. I'm a 4-1, so I'm a people studier. I want to know what other people experience through this, how they see it play out in real life. Okay, I will be back soon with more, of course. If this episode was of value to you, I would love, love, love it if you would leave it a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts because it truly helps so much. Everything is an algorithm. What is the saying? Like, don't play to the algorithm, but it really does help actually get the show out to more people. And I am here to help educate and spread, the magic of this, that it's been so instrumental in helping me in my life. And if you would like to learn more human design, make sure you check out the free guide that gets you on the email list. That's going to take you to the correct $11 or type masterclass. I've got the yoga nidras. And of course, watch this space because going to be opening those new sessions that I'm really excited about. Like I said, fusing everything together. This is like a whole new creation. We are birthing something new. So again, it's very gate one. This is very different than how I was conducting them before. And I am really excited about it. I think it's going to be really powerful. So, again, watch the space, watch Instagram, and you'll know when slots open up for sessions. Okay. Of course, until next time, have a beautiful day.